Have you ever noticed how your body feels when you're stressed at work? Maybe your shoulders tense up during that Monday morning meeting, or your heart races when you see an overflowing inbox, or you get that knot in your stomach before a big presentation. Well, here's the thing. Those aren't just random sensations. There's actually fascinating science happening inside your body in those moments. And today, we're going to explore exactly what's going on. According to the American Psychological Association, about 77% of people regularly experience physical symptoms caused by stress. And when we're talking specifically about workplace stress, the numbers are even more striking. Research published in the Lancet, one of the world's most respected medical journals, found that job strain increases the risk of heart disease by 34%. So today, we're diving deep into the physiology of workplace stress. We'll explore what happens in your brain, your heart, your immune system, and throughout your entire body when work stress becomes chronic. And don't worry, I'll explain everything in a way that makes sense, even if you're not a science person. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the basics. When something stressful happens at work, maybe your boss emails you at 11 p.m., or you realize you have 3 deadlines tomorrow. Your body doesn't think, oh, this is just work stress. Instead, it activates the same ancient survival system that kept our ancestors alive when they encountered, say, a tiger in the wild. Your body can't tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. Within milliseconds of perceiving stress, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in. Think of this as your body's emergency broadcast system. Here's what happens. Your brain sends signals to your adrenal glands, these small glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they immediately release adrenaline and noradrenaline into your bloodstream. And this is why you feel those instant physical changes. Your heart starts pounding. It can increase by 20 to 30 beats per minute within seconds. Your breathing gets faster and shallower. Your pupils dilate so you can see better. Blood rushes to your muscles, preparing you to fight or flee. Your liver releases glucose for quick energy. This is called the sympathetic adrenal medullary system. In short, the SAM axis. It's your body's rapid response team. But there's also a second system that activates. And this one's more like a slow-burning fuse. It's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Let me break this down in a simple way. Your hypothalamus, a tiny region in your brain, releases a hormone called CRH. This signals your pituitary gland to release another hormone called ACTH. ACTH travels through your bloodstream to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands then release cortisol, the main stress hormone. Unlike adrenaline's quick spike, cortisol rises more gradually and stays elevated longer. It's designed to help you cope with prolonged challenges by keeping your energy levels up and your immune system modulated. And here's the critical point. These systems evolved for short-term threats, like running from that tiger. They were never designed for the chronic, day-in, day-out stress of modern work life, where the threat never really goes away. So what happens when these stress systems stay activated for weeks, months, or even years? Let's walk through this together, system by system. First, your heart and blood vessels. When you're chronically stressed, your cardiovascular system is constantly working overtime. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that chronic stress keeps your heart rate elevated and your blood vessels constricted, like trying to push water through a narrow pipe. Over time, this leads to sustained high blood pressure, increased inflammation in your blood vessels, higher risk of blood clots and buildup of plaque in your arteries. A major study in the European Heart Journal found that people with high job strain had a 23% increased risk of heart attack. That's not a small number, that's significant. Second, your immune system. Now here's something really interesting. Short-term stress actually boosts your immune system temporarily. It's like your body saying, "We might get injured, so let's prepare." But chronic workplace stress? That does the opposite. A comprehensive review published in Psychological Bulletin analyzed over 300 studies and found that chronic stress suppresses your immune function. Specifically, it reduces the number and effectiveness of natural killer cells, which fight viruses and cancer cells, T lymphocytes, your immune system soldiers, and antibody production. This is why you might notice you catch more colds during stressful work periods. Studies show that chronically stressed people have 2 to 3 times higher rates of respiratory infections. Third, your brain. Okay, this part is both fascinating and a little concerning. Chronic stress doesn't just affect how you feel. It actually changes the physical structure of your brain. Research from Harvard Medical School using MRI brain scans has shown that prolonged exposure to high cortisol levels can shrink your hippocampus. This is the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. Studies have found reductions of up to 14% in volume. It can also reduce your prefrontal cortex. This area handles decision-making, concentration, and emotional regulation. When it's compromised, you might find it harder to focus or control your emotions. And finally, prolonged exposure to high cortisol levels can enlarge your amygdala. This is your brain's fear and anxiety center. When it gets bigger, you become more reactive to stress and more prone to anxiety. This explains why chronic workplace stress makes it harder to concentrate, remember things, and make good decisions. It's not that you're not trying hard enough. Your brain is literally being affected. Fourth, your digestive system. Ever notice stomach problems during stressful times? There's real science behind this. Your gut and brain are in constant communication through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. When you're stressed, this communication gets disrupted. Your stomach produces more acid, increasing ulcer risk. Your gut motility changes, causing either constipation or diarrhea. And your gut microbiome, those trillions of beneficial bacteria, gets thrown off balance. Research published in Gastroenterology shows that chronic stress increases the risk of irritable bowel syndrome by 2 to 3 times. Fifth, your sleep. Cortisol normally follows a natural rhythm. High in the morning to wake you up, low at night to help you sleep. But chronic stress disrupts this pattern. Studies from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine show that elevated evening cortisol delays sleep onset by 30 to 60 minutes, reduces REM sleep, the stage crucial for emotional processing and memory, and increases nighttime awakenings. A meta-analysis found that work-related stress increases insomnia risk by 300%. And poor sleep, of course, makes it even harder to cope with stress the next day, creating a vicious cycle. Sixth, your metabolism. Here's something that might surprise you. Chronic stress can actually change how your body processes food and stores fat. Elevated cortisol levels increases blood sugar levels, promotes insulin resistance, a precursor to diabetes, and encourages fat storage, especially around your midsection. Research in diabetes care found that chronic stress increases the risk of type 2 diabetes by 45%. And studies show that people with high job strain have significantly higher waist-to-hip ratios, even when diet and exercise are similar. Now, let's talk about something called allostatic load, which we briefly touched on in the previous video. I know that sounds technical, but stay with me. This concept is really important. Allostasis means achieving stability through change. It's your body's ability to adapt to stress. But when stress is chronic and relentless, you accumulate what scientists call allostatic load. Basically, the cumulative wear and tear on your body. Think of it like this. Imagine your stress response is like a car engine. It's designed to rev up when you need it, then return to idle. But chronic workplace stress is like keeping your foot on the gas pedal constantly. Eventually, the engine starts to break down. Research from the MacArthur Foundation has identified specific biomarkers of allostatic load, things like cortisol levels, blood pressure, inflammatory markers, and metabolic indicators. And here's what they found. High allostatic load predicts 2 to 3 times higher risk of cardiovascular diseases, accelerated cognitive decline as we age, and increased risk of death from all causes. One particularly concerning finding, chronic stress can cause something called HPA axis dysregulation. This means your cortisol response becomes either blunted, you can't produce enough, or exaggerated, you produce too much at the wrong times. This dysregulation is associated with conditions like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and depression. Now you might be thinking, wait, I know people who seem to handle workplace stress really well. Why is that? Great question. The truth is, we all respond to stress differently, and there are several reasons why. The first reason is due to genetics. Research shows that variations in certain genes, like those affecting cortisol receptors and serotonin transporters, influence how strongly we react to stress. Some people are genetically predisposed to be more or less stress reactive. Secondly, early life experiences also makes a difference. Studies published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences show that our early childhood experiences can actually program our stress response systems for life. Adverse childhood experiences can make the HPA axis more sensitive, meaning you might react more strongly to workplace stress as an adult. Thirdly, lifestyle factors. And here's the good news. These are factors we can control. Regular exercise reduces cortisol reactivity by 20 to 30%. Getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep improves stress resilience. Strong social connections buffer stress responses, and mindfulness practices can actually reduce amygdala reactivity. Finally, perceived control. Here's something fascinating. It's not just how much stress you experience, it's how much control you feel you have over it. The famous Whitehall studies of British civil servants found that employees with low job control had 50% higher rates of cardiovascular disease, even when their actual workload was similar to others. Feeling like you have some autonomy and control makes a huge physiological difference. With all these insights, how can we move forward? Let me share some key takeaways. Firstly, this is real, and it's not your fault. Workplace stress isn't just in your head or a sign of weakness. It's a biological reality with measurable physical consequences. Understanding this can actually be empowering. It validates what you're experiencing. Secondly, early intervention matters. The research is clear. The longer stress remains chronic and unaddressed, the more damage accumulates. Small changes early on can prevent significant health consequences down the road. Thirdly, recovery time is essential. Your stress response systems need time to return to baseline. This isn't optional, it's biological. This means taking real breaks during your workday, not just eating lunch at your desk. Disconnecting from work emails after hours, actually using your vacation time and prioritizing sleep as non-negotiable. Studies show that even brief recovery periods can significantly reduce allostatic load. To conclude, this isn't just an individual problem. While personal coping strategies definitely help, the research shows that workplace design, management practices, and organizational culture have profound effects on employee stress physiology. If you're in a leadership position, this matters. Creating a healthier work environment isn't just nice, it's a health imperative. So there you have it, the complete picture of what workplace stress does to your body, from your brain to your heart to your immune system and beyond. I know this was a lot of information, and some of it might feel a bit heavy. But here's what I want you to take away from this. Understanding the physiology of stress gives you power. When you know what's happening in your body, you can make informed decisions about managing stress, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your health. Your body is doing its absolute best to protect you. Those stress responses we talked about, they're not flaws, they're features. They kept our ancestors alive. The problem is just that our modern work environment keeps these systems activated far longer than they were designed for. So be kind to yourself. If you're experiencing workplace stress, you're not alone, and your body's responses are completely normal. The key is recognizing when stress is becoming chronic and taking steps to address it. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What physical symptoms do you notice when you're stressed at work? Drop a comment below. Sharing our experiences helps us all feel less alone. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Capella Wellness. We're building a community focused on evidence-based health information that actually makes sense. In our next video, we'll explore practical, science-backed strategies for managing workplace stress. From breathing techniques that activate your parasympathetic nervous system to organizational changes that reduce allostatic load. Until then, take care of yourself. Remember, your health isn't just important, it's everything. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.